If you want the Bears to make changes offensively, hit that subscribe button because, my God, this has been a disaster. I'm Harrison Graham. It's time for a little Overreaction Monday. Overreaction number one. This offensive line is embarrassing, or at least it has been through 2 weeks, and I would cut Nate Davis. We'll get to Nate Davis here in just a sec, but let's get to some next-gen stats first. They clarified the pressures thing that came out last night. 36 pressures on 44 dropbacks. Yes, individual pressures, but Caleb Williams technically was only pressured on 23 of 48 dropbacks, which is still way too many. That's half the time. But what does that mean? Well, on some of those 23, multiple guys were in his grill. So in some ways, it's almost worse because on the really bad plays, he's got 2 free guys coming at him. And it's like, yeah, you're going to get your quarterback killed that way. Regardless, 36 individual pressures is just an outrageous number. This group should be embarrassed. This offensive line should be embarrassed. It has to get a lot better than what we've seen through 2 weeks. Coleman Shelton is a turnstile at center. Nate Davis is a joke. Tevin Jenkins doesn't look like the same player. He seemed like he was kind of questioning the scheme last night in some of the post-game comments I heard. Both tackles really struggled. Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson are tough. I get that, but you got to hold your own a little bit more. Without watching every single play again yet, I've actually gone back and watched it a little bit. It feels like no one played well up front. We'll see how PFF grades it out. I would imagine all 5 come out in a pretty bad way. And call me harsh, call me whatever. I gave him a pass for last year. He had the family tragedy. I just think you got to cut Nate Davis at this point. 1, you got to do something. And 2, it's pretty clear he is not the player he was in Tennessee. I don't know if he's an example of one of these players that gets paid and then just mails it in. I don't know if his head's just not in football due to the family situation from last year. And if that's the case, that's fine. But you can't play if that's the case. I get it. You don't save any money this year by cutting him, but next year you save most of his remaining contract. I would just do it now. I would cut Nate Davis. I would put Matt Pryor in at guard. And I would try something else because I don't think you can continue to trot out this group, including him. There's a play, go on my Twitter, @HGramNFL, where he just completely loafs. He has 2 guys he can try to block, and he's just literally jogging, and he doesn't touch a player. It's like, what are you doing? It's ugly stuff, man. It's really, really ugly. I would move on here. Is it time to cut Nate Davis? Type C for cut or K for keep. I've made my stance clear. I've tried to be as patient as I can, but I just can't defend it anymore. I think you need to move on. Bears overreaction number 2. Caleb Williams' downfield accuracy has not been good. I don't think he's at the top of the list of the offensive struggles, but he's 0 for 11 on throws, 15-plus yards downfield. Now, that doesn't tell the whole story, obviously. I thought he threw a really good seam shot to DeAndre Carter last night where the defender interferes. That stat doesn't go in Caleb Williams' favor in terms of literal raw stats with yards, a completion, or in these advanced stats like this. But he's missed some opportunities. Austin Gale had an interesting stat on Twitter last night saying Caleb Williams' 3.0 net yards per attempt is the worst of any quarterback in weeks 1 and 2 in the last 10 years. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that the quick game's actually been decent. I thought in the first half in particular it was pretty good last night. Texans adjust, sat on those routes. Shane Waldron couldn't adjust. We'll get to him in a minute. But 2, the few opportunities Caleb has had, he's misfired. I mean, the Keenan Allen shot in week 1, misfired. DeAndre Carter slot fade in week 1, misfired. DeAndre Carter on a corner route last night, misfired. DJ Moore, a couple of opportunities, misfired. I think a couple of miscommunications throughout the game. I'm not going to panic because we know I've seen Caleb hit those throws. I don't think just because you go to the NFL, you're incapable of throwing an accurate ball. But it clearly has to improve. And I think his footwork is getting sped up on these downfield shots because he doesn't trust the protection. And can you blame him? Like, doesn't this feel familiar? Saw it with Justin Fields, saw it some with Mitch Trubisky. You got to fix the offensive line. But if I'm being fair, Caleb's missed some opportunities too. So obviously he's got to improve in that regard. All right, we'll get to my third overreaction in just a moment, but first, do want to show some love to our sponsor today. That is Game Time. If you want to go check out the Bears and Rams at Soldier Field in 2 weeks, get your tickets with Game Time. Going to a sporting event, concert, comedy show, it doesn't matter. Got to get your tickets online. Game Time is the best place to do it. Their new feature called Game Time Picks makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play much easier. It'll filter out the fluff of thousands of tickets to show you the best deals on the best seats, so you don't have to, just scroll for hours trying to find tickets that you want. They're going to kind of show the best ones available. Whether you're getting tickets for any event, Game Time's going to show you views from the seats, which is very important when you go to a game or a concert, whatever. You don't want to be unclear about what your vantage point is, so you're going to get that in the Game Time app when you're surfing. Super deals, which are the best bang for your buck on tickets. Last-minute tickets for the lowest price guaranteed. That is their mantra. Cubs, White Sox, if you want to catch one more game down the stretch, you can do so. Download the Game Time app today. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase only. It's code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Terms do apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, overreaction number 3. Let's get to Shane Waldron. Whether this is fair or not, I think it has to be said. Through 2 games, Shane Waldron has not been an upgrade from Luke Getsy. Just hasn't been. And there's a lot of issues when you watch this offense play that stand out. Number 1, you cannot run the football. It's got to be the worst rushing attack in the NFL. We'll see what happens in the game tonight on Monday Night Football. But to me, especially with your running backs, this is an embarrassing running game right now. The offensive line cannot create running lanes. The shotgun runs have to stop. You got to ditch that, especially to the left side. It's not working. The protection schemes are bad. Why is Cole Kmet being asked to come across the formation in front of the quarterback and try to chip block Will Anderson? I get that's supposed to be a quick pass. Someone pointed that out to me. Well, go watch the play. It's a two-slant concept. Both are covered up. You can't have a play like that where if the quick game's covered, your quarterback's going to get blindside killed. Cole Kmet's not making that block on Will Anderson. It's an unreasonable ask. Don't get me started with the offensive line. We've already been there. The scheme is bad. The players have been bad. It's all been bad up front. Number 3, I don't think there's been many adjustments that stand out to me. Like, can you point to something through 2 games where you're like, okay, hey, they went to something here that worked. Sure, individual plays here and there have worked, but not for an extended period of time. And that's frustrating. And again, when you're handicapped when you can't run the football, I get it. But how about you don't keep going back to the shotgun runs that don't work, right? Like, try something else. I feel like the under center running game's been a little better. Too much horizontal passing. Again, when you can't protect, you got to do some of that, but you got to try to find other solutions. And I feel like he's falling into play calling patterns. Like, you almost can tell when it's going to be a shotgun run. You can tell when they're going to throw the football, and that's not a good place to be when the defense knows what's coming. I feel like it's been really, what's the phrase, patternistic. I'll just make up a word here. It's got to improve. And let's just face it, he's been underwhelming so far. And it's pretty tough, too, when you watch what Clint Kubiak's doing with Derek Carr and the Saints. That was the other guy the Bears heavily considered as their OC, and I think they would have gotten him had they offered him the job. And he's just cooking in New Orleans, and Shane Waldron is not. And I advocated for Waldron. He was my top guy, mostly because he had 3 years of experience, and even though there were some flaws with what he did in Seattle, he still got Geno Smith playing at a pretty high level again. I just wanted someone competent. Doesn't look that competent right now. Is it a Bears curse? I don't know. I don't really believe in that stuff, but at some point you almost start to, because it's like it doesn't matter who you bring in here. The offense stinks, and that's how it's been so far. Bears overreaction number 4. Matt Eberflus is an excellent defensive coordinator. I don't think anybody would dispute that at this point. What this defense has done through 2 weeks, 3 points allowed in the second half, he has been able to make adjustments defensively. He deserves a lot of credit for that. I'm not sure he's a head coach, at least a high-quality head coach. Said it for 2 years. I'll say it now. He's throwing stupid challenge flags, and I get it. That's a process. There's someone upstairs who has input on that, but the first one was an embarrassment. I kind of defended the second one last night, even though it's a long shot. That's a game-changing opportunity. Your offense is struggling. Okay, I can let that one go. But when you've already missed the first one, you can't really do that one because then you're out of challenges. And look, the offensive struggles, I get he's a defensive guy. You're the head coach, though. Like, you've got to help figure things out on that side of the ball as well. I think the guys play hard for him. I think the defense is really good. But this is why I wanted to reset with an offensive-minded head coach with Caleb Williams, because I am terrified that this is going to be a team that goes like 8-9, and they're going to fire Flus, and you're doing what you've done over and over again. Your young quarterback has to learn a new offense in his second year in the league. Did it with Justin Fields. Did it with Mitch Trubisky. That's why I wanted to reset, not because I thought Flus was a total bum, but because I questioned him as a high-level head coach, and I would have rather gone with an offensive-minded guy that also calls the plays that you could grow Caleb with. Like, I just, it feels like you're falling into these patterns once again as a franchise, and that's concerning. That is very, very concerning. So, yeah, I can't say I've been crazy impressed with Matt Eberflus so far as a head coach. 1 touchdown on 22 drives offensively. That obviously has to improve. Just kind of circling back to Shane Waldron here because it all works together. Flus, Waldron, Chris Morgan. What the hell is Chris Morgan doing? He's the one offensive coach you kept from the prior offensive staff. This offensive line's a joke. They promoted him. They made him the run game coordinator. This is the worst rushing attack in the NFL. You better wake up, man, or you're not going to have a job soon. Grade Shane Waldron so far, A, B, C, D, or F. Let us know how you feel about Shane up to this point as the Bears offensive coordinator. I mean, it's got to be an F, right? One touchdown on 22 drives, that's not going to cut it whatsoever. All right, my final take on the Bears through 2 weeks. It's pretty simple offensively. If you can't run the football, it's going to be a long year offensively. Caleb Williams is going to find some magical plays. We haven't really seen it yet, but he's going to improve. But if you can't run the ball, he can only do so much. You are asking a lot out of this rookie quarterback to create chicken salad out of chicken crap, if we're being completely honest. The offensive line has been embarrassing, both as a protection unit and to create running lanes. I would cut Nate Davis. I would give Matt Pryor a look. Maybe you play Khalil Herbert more at running back, but this is a tough watch right now offensively. You're playing the Colts next week. They've given up almost 500 rushing yards through 2 weeks. If you can't run the ball in that game, you're in big trouble. All right, appreciate everybody for tuning in here. Hit that subscribe button if you want more Bears content. My name is Harrison Graham. We will be live this afternoon, so turn on those notifications. We'll go live at 4 Central.